Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corset and Crown, presented by Buzzing About Romance. I am Duchess Katie, and with me is my companion, Lady Sadie.
Hi, everybody.
Today we are discussing E. Ottoman's The Doctor's Discretion. So Sadie, why don't you give us a little synopsis?
All right, so the synopsis is from Goodreads, and we start in New York City in 1831. Passion, medicine, and a plan to break the law. When Doctor William Blackwood, a proper gentleman who prefers books to actual patients, meets retired Navy surgeon Doctor Augustus Hill, they find in each other not just a companionship, but the chance of pleasure, and perhaps even more. The desire between them is undeniable, and their budding relationship is disrupted by the arrival of a mysterious patient at New York Hospital. Mr. Moss has been accused of being born a woman, but living his life as a man, an act that will see him committed to an asylum for the rest of his life. William and Augustus are determined to mount a rescue, even if it means kidnapping him instead. Their desperate plan sets William and Augustus against the hospital authorities and the law. Soon they find themselves embroiled in New York's seedy underworld, mixed up in prostitutes, spies, and more than a lifetime's worth of secrets. When nothing is as it seems, can they find something real in each other?
Salacious. This book was first released November 28th, 2017. So we're doing a little bit of a throwback, but since it is Pride Month, we wanted to try and get some LGBTQIA plus reads in here. It's not just the stories themselves, but also by the authors.
And so this is by E. Ottoman again. And the tropes include opposites attract, let's do crime, also known as be gay, do crime, forbidden love, disabled main character, and interracial.
Yes. Steam level on this one, about a 2. The book was about 200 pages long, and they do manage to get quite a few, sex scenes in there, and they were not tame, I would say.
No, I wouldn't say they're overly graphic either, though.
Mm-mm.
And it's not just, I would say it's not necessarily penetrative sex.
It was
definitely
mutual.
Yeah.
Mutual masturbation, trying, essentially just figuring out what each other likes without, having to have penetrative sex all of the time.
Yeah.
Which escalated like this sheer tenderness of their relationship.
Yeah. It was really intimate. Their love scenes are really intimate, and the connection is really, really beautiful. Yes. I also really liked it because Augustus Hill, who has only one hand. Mm-hmm. And so the way that they hold each other was very well described because of his disability. All right, so what are our thoughts, Duchess Katie?
This was my first romance ever that I've read that was written by a man. And I think that he handled this with so much care, because there was, I'm having a hard time finding my words, because there were so many things in here that could be absolutely triggering to people, but he wrote about them in such a way that it's like, yeah, this shit was happening. The way that Moss, the character, was treated as a trans man was going to get him committed to an asylum, arrested, and put on public display for being who he was. And William is a Black doctor in New York in the 1800s.
Early 1800s, 1831.
1831.
So slavery is currently happening, and this is a freed Black man.
Yeah.
And they talk there's a lot of history in this. There's a lot of history in this from the first page on. They talk about the cholera epidemic. They talk about Freedmen Papers. They talk about race. They talk about early gentrification of New York City. They talk about interclass warfare. So there's a lot going on in this book. But I really loved that they were addressed head on. The author wrote this book really deliberately. These are issues he wanted to talk about. He wanted to talk about what it was to fight for your gender in the 19th century. I also really liked that there were so many storylines, and in 200 pages, I was like, this might seem like it's too many storylines. And it didn't end up feeling rushed or like it was a crowded book. And I really loved that. I also loved that they're both kind of soft leads. Like there wasn't necessarily a dominant pursuer. They were both soft and gentle humans. Like they're healers, they are doctors, they want to care for each other. And I really loved that connection, that neither one of them was like, not necessarily the aggressor, but like pursuing. And that really wasn't part of this.
I totally agree. And yeah, like this book had a lot going on in it all at once, but I never, like you said, it never felt rushed, but it also never felt like it was too much, I guess, because it was all very important, because, you know, we're talking about, to use the term in the book, a whorehouse. You know, the way that patients were treated, not just Moss, but the other patients, with so little care. This was clearly a very well-researched book. And then, you know, Ottoman himself, whatever, I need to dig more into his backlist and more about him, just because I don't really know anything about him now. But what his lived experiences are as well, in present day. So, you know, this was my first book like this, and, you know, it sucks that it took me this long, but I'm glad that I did, because now I'm like, all right, give me more. Like, and I don't want it to be just for like entertainment's sake. This was also educational. And like you said, the leads were both so tender and sweet and soft. And, you know, there's like in just about any romance, there's a miscommunication or a lack of communication based, you know, because there is an assumption made, and they're both two very different people, a Black gay man and a trans white doctor, who are just both like, have their own set of concerns and worries and troubles and everything like that. And they both are trying to understand the other, because they have so many things that they fight against just living, that they can't quite wrap their head around the other's, you know, struggles and things like that. So
I did really enjoy that people, that the language, this author is really deliberate in their use of language. That being said, some of the language is not what people would use anymore. He does use the word hermaphrodite, which could be harmful to some readers. So please be aware going in that is used. And intersex is a much newer term and not at all referenced in this book. But be aware that the language is really deliberate. But I also found it really fascinating, because it essentially was a plot-driven book, which is not usually my favorite, because the plot drove their need to specifically communicate. And when communication could literally lead to you being put in an asylum for the rest of your life for being you, how do you breach that? How do you learn to say, no, I do accept you as you are, without possibly exposing yourself to living your life in an asylum, which were horrific places. So I really liked that. I also really liked that when anyone screwed up, they were like, sorry guys, that was me. And the miscommunications didn't feel like, I wasn't like, oh my God, why are you an idiot? Like, that didn't happen. I was like, oh, my heart. Oh, that's not what you wanted to happen. And I really enjoyed that. That aspect. Okay. What about the ending?
Honestly, I was not expecting it. Like, I really was not expecting the twist at the end. And I was pleasantly surprised, because I'm sitting here thinking, how are they going to make this okay? How is Ottoman going to make this okay? And he did, you know? And he put a nice little bow on it, but I didn't feel like it was like the perfect bow, that kind of thing. So, it gave me comfort in the way that he decided to end it.
My only real question was, I can't tell if Corporal Thornton was like in on it. Is he like an ally? I can't figure it out. Like, what was his role? And I couldn't figure that out at the end, but otherwise I really did. I was like, oh my God, where's my HEA? Come on, give it to me.
Right.
And he made you wait for it. He made you wait.
He did make you wait till like the bitter end, but the twist with Corporal Thornton made me pleasantly surprised. And that's why in my mind, I believe that he wasn't in on it, but he knew about Voss.
Yeah. I did like that there was a little bit of spy action, guys. A little bit of spy action. Surprise spies.
Surprise spies.
Which I guess would technically be the purpose of being a spy, but that's okay.
Right. It's a surprise.
So this was a new to me author. I had a great time. What did you think of it? Would you read some more Ottoman?
I absolutely would. I like his voice. I like how well researched it was, and the own voices aspect of it, that he knows his own experience, and he knows how to tell this story. So I thought it was really lovely, and just intimate and tender and beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah. I definitely really am intrigued by some of the other titles in this backlist, this author's backlist. There looks like there's one written about I think Vietnam, where it's a couple of soldiers. I don't know. I got to look more into this. Definitely going to read more E. Ottoman. Who would like this one?
So if you like male romance, yes, you would definitely like this. Medical shows. There is quite a bit of detailed, because Dr. Hill, Augustus, is a practicing physician, and William is he prefers research to treating patients, but they both talk about things. The fact that they talked about an epidemic at the beginning of the book, I was like, oh God.
And it was a no joke epidemic. Like, I think they referenced 2 epidemics, yellow fever and
cholera. Mm-hmm.
So there's two epidemics here.
2 epidemics, and then they talk about the cleanliness of the surgeons and the doctors and hand washing. You guys, like, I was like, this book is from 2017. This is before 2020 happened, and talking about the way that their patients live, if they wash their hands and their surgical implements and everything.
And then it was the debate of cleanliness. I was like, is that a debate? Is that?
And William was also so staunchly for it. And so, after Augustus was like, what do you think about washing your hands? And he was like, hell yeah. I was like, what?
I'm so excited.
Yes.
This is also why I can't read books like really like medieval historic romance. I really get very concerned by the level of cleanliness between the main characters. So I will also say so Hill has one hand, and they describe him having what's essentially like a fake hand, and how hard it is for him to wear his apparatus. And so that was really interesting. I'm a total history nerd, so I found that really interesting. There is some squeamish parts though. If you're not a fan of blood and gore, maybe skip this one and find a different Ottoman book to read. But I really like that show, New Amsterdam, which takes place at what is essentially Bellevue Hospital, which they mention a bunch in this book. And I was like, yay, Bellevue.
It wasn't so great back in the 1830s and before then.
Not great.
And if anything medical, like I wouldn't say it's like overtly graphic. It's informational, makes you squeamish. It might churn your stomach a little bit. And then obviously with the presence of Moss being a trans man, there is a lot of trans and homophobia present from
period appropriate. Period specific. I would say it's period specific language, period specific phobia. And like, it's not easy to read though. I would not say like if that's gonna be hard for you, maybe give this a body's worth.
Yeah.
I also really liked essentially the male whore that was a character.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, where's Lake's book? Where is Lake's happy ending? Because I really like this character. And that he does sort of get mentioned in the end, which I thought was really interesting. But I feel like that's a really interesting storyline and how very frank it was about finding pleasure in a safe way.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes. Definitely would recommend this book if any of those things that we just previously mentioned wouldn't trigger you in any negative way.
Yeah. What are you reading right now?
Whew. I am in between books right now, actually. I'm finishing up My Fake Rake by Eva Lee, but I'm trying to decide what to read next. I might go grab another E. Ottoman book, honestly.
Yes. So I am on the new release from Casey McQuiston, One Last Stop. I didn't love Red, White, and Royal Blue. I think I'm in the minority for that, but I don't love modern royals. So that was like, I can't quite get into this. And Enemies to Lover really stresses me out. But there are really a bunch of new releases I'm excited for this month. And right after I finish One Last Stop, I'm going to read Adriana Herrera. I'm so bad at names. Her new release that comes out at the end of the month, One Week to Claim It All, which is about a telenovela company and a second chance love story.
Awesome. I remember seeing that one pop up. I know I'd really like to read something that's new. I mean, obviously we're reading another one by Olivia Waite.
It's so exciting at the end of the month. I can't wait to share that one with you guys.
Yes, me too. I really enjoyed the first in that series. So now I'm just kind of trying to figure out what my next read is. So
it's always fun. All the potential.
Yes, that's the thing. I struggle.
There's so many good books.
Pick something. Yeah.
And there are so many good books dropping this month. The Queer Principles of Kit Webb. It comes out. There's an Olivia Waite. I swear there's more coming out this month. But it seems like June is packed with new releases. So I hope you all have something awesome to read, and we will see you at the end of the month.
Thank you, everybody.